Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there. It looks like we've got everybody we need for this, I think. Yep. And we're ready to go ahead. We are recording.
Great. Thank you, Aubrey. My name is Matt Worth. I'm one of the appeals hearing officers for Salt Lake City. And before us tonight is a rescheduled item originally heard on June 19th, 2025. This is regarding PLN ZAD 2025-00198 regarding some setback variances requests and side yard variance requests for 871 West, 400 North, and the applicant Tim Fotu, who I see is here, as well as Mr. Valerga, their attorney, I believe, is here as well. So thank you for being here tonight. This is not a public hearing in the traditional sense, given the type of hearing, but we are here to consider this zoning request. And I should note that we did receive Mr. Valerga's written statement on behalf of his client. I do note for the record that those are supposed to be received 14 days ahead of the hearing. But I do note that we did receive it and will be entered into the record. So thank you for providing that. I think it would be helpful. We'll have an opportunity to hear from the applicant, his attorney, and a response from the city, and then any final responses, and maybe there might be some questions I might have as we go along. And keep in mind that obviously read through the staff report a couple of times now, just to refresh my memory from the June meeting, and so you don't have to rehash everything, but I will turn the time over to the applicant and his attorney for your just to, if there's anything you want to highlight that's in addition to what's in your written materials. So I'll give you whatever time you need, and then see if the city has any specific response to either your written or oral ideas. And just keep in mind that as you know, city ordinance does require really the burden to prove all of the elements of a variance do rest with the applicant. So I just wanted to point out the obvious as well as we go forward. So so who would like to speak on the side of the applicant and address these issues?
Yeah, Tim, would you like to go first and I can follow up? Tim?
Me?
Yeah, would you like to speak first and then I'll follow up after
Okay.
you?
Thank you. I just wanna thanks to the board for take their time to listen to, try to let us give us time, try to find out the very end. I've been working with Casey, the one from the beginning before I build a house to give me the very end. But from the beginning, when I buy the property in 2009, March 2009, then the real estate lady brought me to look at the property, and they have all those trees. It's like 6 big trees. It's start to dead halfway. Then I look at the pin. Then I went asked to the city office at the second east and the four north. And I went to the city and told me to go to the department because they work for the street and stuff. Maybe they know the pin. And I go ask them, talk to one of the guys, and they told me to talk to the engineer. And I talked to him, then he told me, yeah, those trees, I asked him if they wanna, what the city gonna do about all those trees. Then the engineer told me, if the tree by the pin line is yours, you gotta take it out. Then I didn't have any surveyor paper yet or anything, but I just go ahead and remove it. Just go by the information that they give me from the engineer. Then I hired a guy to come in, remove all the trees, 4 trees, and I left 2 trees in one in each end. Remove 4 and left 2. Then a year later, the electric company came and said, we gotta remove all the trees because they're gonna run the heavy volt. They're gonna put the big telephone pole in the corner of the 4 north and 9 west. So we end up remove again the last 2 trees. Spent almost 48,000 to remove the trees. And all the neighborhood, they dump all the rubbish, this their dump area. So when I start cleaning up all the trees, and they say, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I buy this piece of property, I wanna build a home for my grandkids. Then I start cleaning, and the next day they still dumping rubbish, the piece a lot. And I clean them all, the rubbish, and pull all the trees. Then I signed the pitch of the pin and to Alicia to show the pin, and because in 2009 the tree was still showing the picture. Then I put the keystones to level the property. Then I build the house. It is the family home for my kid come from Hawaii. I live in Hawaii, but I come here in the summer. I work here with my son. He run landscape here in Salt Lake City. He came to school at U, but then he finished. He stayed here. That's why I built a home for my grandkid to come go to school. Then that's why then I buy that piece of property to build a home. This for my grandkid to come here. I know the timing comes, the price gonna be higher and higher. That's why I decided to look for a piece of property to build a home for my grandkid to come from Hawaii to go to school. But anyway, I remove all the trees and do the elevation and work on the permit with my designer. Then the lady called me, the real estate lady, the surveyor coming. When the surveyor came in, I saw him the pin. Because after I remove all the trees and take all the rubbish, then I was, and the surveyor came, and the surveyor, then he said he's gonna turn in the surveyor paper to the city. 2 weeks later, when I went to the city, I looked at the surveyor paper, it didn't go to the pin. Then I called a real estate lady and she tell me about the address. It's in Second South and Main Street. And I went over there to look for them. The people next door told me they run out of business a couple months ago. And then I called back to the real estate lady and asked her, how did you find a surveyor? I called the number, it's not working. And I came into the office. They're not in a business anymore. And that's how I messed up from the beginning. Because they, I don't know how the real estate lady get the people that was already run out of business. And that's how I stuck with the boundary line. But I just follow what the engineer told me to the pin. That's why then I get the drawing and I turn in, get the permit and I start working on the footing. Everything go smooth. Inspector came and looked, inspected everything, go follow to the permit. And some stuff I need to say, oh, go back to engineer to sign it. And put all of, when I passed the footing, I said the footing come the next day, then no more form. The neighbor keep stealing the material when I put the footing, it come the next day. I think they don't want me to build a home and they're gonna lot. And follow the footing pass and build a house. Start frame the second floor, the inspector comes, there's a complaint. Complain all the way until now, all the neighborhood, they don't want me to build a home, and I feel like I wish I never built a home in that piece of lot because the neighborhood still, I don't know what's wrong in the neighborhood. But the time I take the footing all the way until now, they still come after me. I cannot. I just don't know. I just don't know what to do about this house. I just wish I never built it to have all the trouble. Then
Yeah.
last year, Pencila came and said, it's a complaint again that you're renting the house. And I said, it's not renting the house because sometimes the weekend, when kids come to the house and school, they go back to school. And Angela came and says, complaining about the house, renting it as an apartment. It is how it start. They have a problem again. And I just don't know what to do anymore. I just feel like just pass down the house and throw away to solve my problem. I just feel like I cannot handle anymore. But I want to thank to Ori for my lawyer for come and try to help me to this. Because I don't know how to do anymore to write a letter. I just don't know what to say, but I want to thank to Ori for coming and try to help
Yeah,
make it a little
thanks,
bit
Tim.
lighter to my problem.
Thanks, Tim. Let me address the specific issues. I just wanted Tim to speak and kind of give you a general sense of how we got into this mess. Let me address the specific variance standards. I'll discuss each one. So one is greater than the minimum variation necessary to relieve the unnecessary hardship. The board did approve, a variance, but I don't think that was communicated exactly what that meant to Mr. Fotu. So, and I will note that the house is around 2,000 square feet, which is bigger, but it's not the biggest one on the lot on the block. And there is one, that is that big. So, to us, it's not greater, in fact, than the minimum variation. So that's point one. General standards, we go to number one. Literal enforcement of this title would cause an unreasonable hardship, and we think that it would. As I said, the board or the council wants to keep it to 40% lot coverage, but we think that still would be too small, and that there is a house that size on the block. So we think that creates a literal hardship if he's not able to keep it the size it is. And then speaking of hardship, of course, the biggest issue is he he built this house with approved plans, essentially an engineering stamp, and from the city's approval. And he wouldn't have built a house with those plans if he hadn't had approval. So the result would be tearing it down would create an extreme hardship. So that's to respond to that point. There are special circumstances that don't apply. It is the smallest lot on the block, and so special circumstances exist. Granting the variance, and that goes along with granting the variance, is essential to enjoyment of the property. Like I said, we just keep going back to there's a house bigger than his on the same block. It wouldn't substantially affect the general plan of the city because, despite what the board found, it's it is just one lot, and it's once it's finished, and once he's allowed to finish the outside, it's going to look great. Once he's allowed to clean up the yard, it's going to look great, and it won't affect the general plan of the neighborhood. The spirit is observed, and despite what we think it is observed, he did tear down parts of the he did tear down an extension on the back, under direction of the city. And so he's trying to observe the spirit of the ordinance in that regard. So I mean, that's generally the appeal is, it's not much different than, and it's certainly smaller than the other house on the block. It's a newer house. The other ones are older. This is a newer house. So, just to make it worth essentially building a house, it's got to be big enough, to cover the costs of home ownership. And so building a small house, Mr. Fotu believes would create an undue hardship in that sense. So, I mean, beyond that, the solutions would be dire to make Mr. Fotu tear it down. He couldn't fix it without tearing it down, essentially costing him hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, if the board has any questions, we're happy to respond.
Thank you very much, Brody. Appreciate you taking the time and having your materials. Let me ask and see if there's a response, either written or oral, from the city, or anything forthcoming based on the written materials or what was said. Just wanted to give either Kelsey or Paul or anybody from the city if they wanted to address anything.
I can jump in and just address a couple of the permit claims and assumptions that are being made in the hearing. Mr. Fotu did not pass any of his foundation inspections. Several stop work orders were opened in association with his building permit. And so the claim that the city issued permits and consistent inspections is inaccurate. The building permit was opened in 2011 and the inspection report is several pages long with several stop work orders that were flagged. Additionally, the survey that was submitted in 2010 associated with the original variance does not show the property line going to the pin in the sidewalk. And the city accepts surveys, and it's on the onus and the burden of the applicant to indicate where their property lines are located and not the city.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Mhm.
Any other input or thought from the city?
Can I say something about a footing, what he said about a footing? Yeah, Inspector Scott told me to go back to the engineer to collect it. So I went collect it and sign it. Yeah, everything was signed to collect the footing, what she's saying about the footing. Yeah, the engineer, the inspector told me to go back to the engineer to sign it, and I have to lift up the footing higher to get the measurement, the 30 inches. So I went to fix it, but everything was signed. If we don't see any record, but everything was signed and stamped. And that's why Scott was then Kali, the next one is two different Scott first and Tali came after. And Tali see all the signing. I was start with Scott and Tali came, but I showed to Tali all the stamp from the engineer. My engineer, he's a designer and engineer. He stamped everything and we collect it. So Tali pass everything before we move on to the next. Everything was clear before. If anything then clear, why they didn't stop the house before? But everything was clear, that's why Tali came and look, everything was signed and move on to build the building. Was already collect. And the engineer was stamping before we move on to pour the floor. Before we pour the footing, we have to clear with my engineer with the China to stamp. And they came back and look at again and they passed, and we pour the footing and move on. That's how. We didn't do anything never clear. Was all clear before I move on to the next. It was all clear before I keep building the house. I work for a Mormon church, built chapel in the South Pacific for a Mormon church for 15 years. So everything, yeah, I work in South Pacific for a Mormon church, different islands, South Pacific. So I want to make sure that everything collect before I move on. That's my answer for what they said. She said about the footing.
Thank you very much. Brody, anything else you wanted to add in response to the city or anything else anybody has to speak to?
No, that's it for now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Given how recently I received the written materials from the applicant, I will take this under advisement and issue a written ruling next week, just to make sure I digest everything fully. And I appreciate everybody's time, and we'll have a ruling out next week for everybody.
Thank you, Matt.
That concludes our
Matt.
hearing. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.